Okay, well, we're discussing connected TV now, and in particular, whether it provides faster connections to things like inventory, audiences, data and optimizations, and whether it enables faster monetization for advertisers. And then I guess whether it has an inherent advantage, therefore, that means that more budget will slowly shift to this channel. And we have 4 people today who are absolutely in the right place to answer these questions. And I'll ask them to introduce themselves, if that's okay, and just spend 30 seconds telling us about their company, and then answer our first question, which is, what forecasting and media planning lessons will you be taking out of the COVID-19 lockdown crisis? So Guido, why don't we kick off with you?
Sure, thank you for the intro. So I'm Guido Vanbach. I'm Executive Vice President for Comscore, heading up the business for Europe and APAC. So who's Comscore and what do we do? Well, Comscore is a trusted partner for planning, transacting and evaluating media across platforms. We have enormous audience insights across digital, TV and theatrical viewership, and that makes us a very powerful third-party source for reliable measurement of cross-platform audiences. So in essence, we're a measurement company that provides insights for the buying and selling of media. So to your question, what forecasting lessons do you carry over from the COVID crisis? Well, we'll still have to see what the aftermath will bring us in terms of economics and how that will affect budgets. But what we've seen so far is that the lockdown has been accelerating consumption of premium video. And we have also noticed a further growth of connected TV advertising spend as part of the overall media mix. In a survey we conducted at the beginning of the COVID crisis among UK marketing professionals, we revealed that 54% of marketing professionals are actually increasing their connected TV advertising spend. So we're seeing a big shift happening, and I think COVID has been accelerating that.
Okay, and Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan from 16 by 9. We are a boutique independent TV and video specialist media agency, working with a number of clients across different sectors. And we work with partners, Good Stuff, who backed us early on. And we very much came about because, having been in the TV industry for the last 20 years, where much of the talk has been about digital and technology, actually there are still some basics which hold true when it comes to consumers, and that is TV is still the most powerful sort of medium, advertising medium. And that, I think, has really been shown during this COVID crisis in the fact that it, as a medium, provides that trust, which many other media, especially on the digital side, don't have. So going forward from the crisis, and the way, in fact, we worked with our clients is very much in partnership, understanding because various different industries have been affected differently and will have different consumer focuses. And therefore, you can't really look at connected TV as a one-size-fits-all. It's very much needs to be taken back to a granular level. And I don't think, again, as an industry, we are obsessed with technology behind it. Consumers don't care whether it's a connected TV, what someone else would call an addressable TV, linear TV, OTT. They just see it as a TV, and they're attracted to the content that is on there. And I think, going forward, we need to, as an industry, keep that in mind. It's about how the consumer is feeling and what content they're watching, which would then be relevant for advertisers to, tell their messaging. And I think that's for us what we will continue going forward, and actually what we've done from the very start.
Okay, and John.
Hi guys, so I'm John. I'm the head of client engagement for advanced advertising at PMX. And PMX are essentially the trading and solutions arms of Publicis Media, which is built up of media agencies such as Spark, Starcom, Digitas and Zenith. And I think, agreeing with a lot of what Dan said just there, I think what we've taken from what's occurred in the last couple of months is that consumers really like TV. And when we say TV, That includes linear TV, online video, catch up, connected TV. TV content is still king, and I think viewing patterns have changed over the last couple of months to solidify the importance of TV for brands and for clients. I think going forward, brands will look at TV and video with more stimulus, and if anyone felt that it was losing its impact or that we've seen the role of it diminish on plans, I think that's changed. I think brands will look at TV, AV as more important than ever. It's a brand safe, premium environment that audiences really went towards in a time of uncertainty. And I think one of the big things that we're seeing from a published media perspective is that we want to do more to be able to identify the audiences within the TV landscape. So using data is something that's going to be key moving forward, identifying where these audiences are in that content, what are they watching, and making sure that we're working closer with our brands and our clients to understand what their business goals are. And if we can understand what their business goals are and who that audience is that helps them, we can find them on TV, on AV, using better data. I think that's something that we're going to see a bigger pattern of going forward.
Okay, and Lara?
Hi, so I'm Lara Isla, Director of Advertising Data and Analytics at ITV. ITV is the UK's largest commercial broadcaster. My role at ITV, my team and I, we focus on harnessing the power of ITV's first-party data, and that is data that we have from our 30+ million UK subscribers, UK registered users to the ITV hub, and we activate that data for campaign insights, targeted products, and measurement solutions to prove the value of addressable TV. In terms of lessons, I think we haven't stopped learning yet. It's been 3 or 4 months of non-stop change. So if anything, I think the lesson we learn is, keep being agile, keep adapting, and kind of moving quicker to really understand, how consumer behavior is changing, how that has a knock-on pressure to marketeers and has a knock-on pressure to on the wider ecosystem. So I think that will continue for a while yet. And our main learning is, keep ourselves on our toes, continue to be agile, continue to experiment, and continue to drive, to drive change within the industry.
Okay, thank you. And then Dan, I mean, do you think the marketing budgets were already more fluid before the lockdown, and have they become more fluid because of it? I mean, will money end up anywhere significantly different at the end of it all?
The difficulty with COVID is, as I say, there are so many unknowns, and obviously we've seen the out-of-home market suffer particularly, as well as cinema, those areas that were closed down. I think the more news stories that come out negatively around some of the social media platforms, that has made brands think more about what money they're spending behind them. I think, again, it depends on categories. Obviously, they've worked particularly for some of the smaller and newer advertisers. But at the end of the day, I think we've seen more recently more money flowing into TV because of the trust that it delivers. And at the end of the day, with the data that you've got, or that we've got, of which we still need a lot more, those clients that are seeing their TV campaigns result in positive outcomes, which they can measure, because again, the use of econometrics across the board is helping. That's delivering more money into TV across the board. But I think, again, the use of data, not just the data that the broadcasters have, but actually working in partnership with advertisers, is their data. As broadcasters and as media owners, they can all pinpoint their audience, but it comes down to, are the people buying the product? And that means having a closer working relationship with a creative agency. Because at the end of the day, you can pinpoint target your audience now. But at the end of the day, if your creative message is not right, it's not going to deliver, and therefore may change media budgets sort of going forward. But I think where there is an increased closeness between media planning and creative, from our point of view, we very much use contextual media planning as the way forward to ensure that you're getting the right message to the right audience. And actually, we worked with one client earlier on in the year that was very clear about when they wanted to advertise and what their message was going to be. But when we saw the creative, that didn't deliver against their initial targeting and their thought process. So we actually changed the plan so that the creative would work as effectively with the audience they were targeting.
Okay, I mean, Lara, I know it's difficult to separate COVID out from what happened before, but I mean, was there a trajectory for marketing budgets to become more fluid anyway and move maybe between digital and linear, depending on how shows were being picked up in either channel, for example? And I mean, do you think that budgets will end up anywhere significantly different at the end?
I think, you know, I completely agree with Dan there, and your point just there, John. I think marketing budgets were changing already, have been changing for years now. I think TV viewing behaviors have been changing for years now. So none of this is new. We've been working and preparing for these changes for years. I think what has happened, as we've already said, is this period has been an immense catalyst for acceleration for a lot of these behaviors, right? So that move towards agility that I talked about before, towards automation, towards data-centric thinking, you know, all of a sudden, we thought we were doing a kind of a 3-year degree course. All of a sudden, it's been like a 3-month executive education course that we had to kind of cram. But the good news is we had some of that, some of that thinking was already in place. So we were so ready for it. What I will say though, which I think has been so refreshing, and to pick up on something that Dan has said, I feel like before the lockdown, we were spending a lot of time thinking about the data and tech side of it, like, trying to kind of accelerate adoption of platforms and adoption of data-centric thinking into product and measurement and all of that. And I felt perhaps that maybe, the creative piece fell a little bit by the wayside, or wasn't as much a part of the narrative as the data and the tech. I think the lockdown, because of that compressed nature, all of a sudden we need to be, as Dan said, we need to be thinking about the creative, because we were in this situation where there was so much sensitivity to creative because of what was happening around us. So all of a sudden that came back into the picture in a big way. And I think that's a really good thing, right? So we need to accelerate that creative piece alongside the data and the tech. And I think coming out of it, I'm hoping that we'll be a little bit more even, and we can kind of grow both pieces in a way that works really well for TV advertising.
Okay. And Guido, I mean, you at Comscore, you definitely believe that connected TV can sort of accelerate the feedback path and also accelerate the path to sort of monetization for marketers. I mean, just explain the thinking there then.
What we see is that today, when you look at connected TV advertising, it was either lumped into a digital budget or a TV budget, right? And it was basically measured as either TV or digital. But I think what we're seeing here is that brands are essentially beginning to understand what the opportunity is here. Because the way we see it is that connected TV combines both the targeting potential of digital and the branding potential of linear TV. And we suspect that connected TV is becoming the leading platform for premium video. And therefore, it will drive companies to advertise there. And when there's a lot of money going into the platform, there's more data, there's more measurement, and therefore we see that the feedback will be quicker, more instant, and therefore people can adjust on the fly and monetize the advertising better than just on linear TV.
And when you say, you can sort of adjust on the fly, I mean, can you even use the data coming back from connected TV to help you optimize your wider media plan, or do you just mean within the connected TV environment?
Well, it's still early days, right? The way connected TV is measured is different than how you would measure, for instance, digital, right? It's more like a server-side measurement rather than based on cookies. So that's a difference. There's a lot of discussion around privacy and targeting. So it's still early days, but I suspect that the learnings from digital and linear will marry up and will lead to a new way of measuring and targeting premium video content.
Okay, and John, I mean, do you agree that connected TV has an inherent advantage maybe in terms of the feedback loop and then what you can do with it? I mean, do you think that it actually leads you to monetization faster as a marketer?
I think we have to, I think from a UK perspective, we have to be very clear with what our definition of connected TV is. The way that we see it from a publicist point of view is it's content that serves onto the big screen. And again, from the UK perspective, the broadcasters and YouTube are probably still the most dominant in terms of scale and availability, in terms of their content and the technology that they have. ITV have done an amazing job with their platform that they're pushing out in Planet V, and also they talk about the amount of impacts that are delivered across CTV from their ITV hub. I think is going to the 60 to 70% mark. It's quite influential in terms of AV planning, but it still fits within the AV buy. And I think if you try and take it away and call it something else, it's part of the AV solution. So you've got your linear TV, you've got your connected TV, you've got your online video. And I think the more insights that we can get around the audiences, around the content, the more that it can help shift more spends towards connected TV. But at the moment, its capabilities aren't fully there just yet to pass those insights back. And I think there is something attractive to the digital native audience clients in particular, who will look at connected TV as an opportunity of being able to be on the big screen, be able to be on the TV without having those high implications of booking AB deadlines or what is perceived to be high buy-ins for TV. Sometimes you're spending millions of pounds to buy into it to run a TV campaign. So I think it offers brands the opportunity to be on the big screen, but it still is part of the AV buy. And I think until it grows its capabilities, which it is doing so, but there's still got a way to go, it's going to be it's going to help understand where those AV buys should be split. And then going forward, it can help us plan and measure campaigns and where we should be targeting audiences in the future.
Okay, and Dan, do you also agree? Do you think it has an inherent advantage? And if you're not using it as much as you could, what is actually stopping you? I mean, John mentioned there's kind of some practical issues.
Well, I think actually to add to John's point, we're not there yet with connected TV. I mean, at the end of the day, there is, and GDPR will compound this, it's still a household screen. So it's usually, that data's coming from whoever's registered. So on the ITV hub, it may be the head of the household who has put their data on. When the kids are coming, they'll be watching something different. That'll come up from a content point of view against the head of the household who's watching. So it's still very difficult, like linear TV, to know exactly who's watching what content and when. You get a picture, but that picture does require a lot of data as you get more people watching more of the time. And I think that's where you can't rely on data alone. I think you do need to rely a little bit on experience in terms of how to take the data that you get from TV viewing and use that. Because until you get to the stage where everyone who watches a screen is individually identified, you're never going to have the accurate data that you want. You'll get the data from a household point of view, knowing whether there are kids there, whether predominantly they like drama shows, everybody's together, watching Saturday night family entertainment, that sort of thing. So you're only getting sort of incremental data from connected TV that you already had through the bar panel in terms of household data when they're watching. So I think there's still some way to go in order for it really to come to its own and provide something different to what we already have.
Okay, and Guido, I mean, in terms of the feedback that you can get out of connected TV and the sort of the data that you could feed back into plans, I mean, what are the most important elements, do you think, or metrics?
That's a good question. I think that's where the industry will still have to decide, right? If we go the path of measuring it as linear TV, or if we go down the path of measuring it as digital. right? Those are measured in two different ways. And so the data is there. There's measurement in smart TVs, there's measurement in devices. There's a lot of data out there. And the question of what the metrics, I think that will require an industry-wide discussion on which metrics we can settle. And then there's of course the GDPR that we still, I mean, it's incredibly important that if the data is there, that we only use the data that has consent, right? So I suspect that the metrics in the beginning will move more towards like content-based metrics rather than audience-based metrics. The audience-based metrics will probably be informed by panels.
Okay. And Lara, I mean, John mentioned at the start that he thought TV or video would be a bigger part of the plan, having seen the sort of the excitement around TV, I guess, when people had nothing else to do. And he also mentioned that your connected TV viewing was about 60 to 70% of hub viewing. So, I mean, just talk us through, you know, connected TV as part of your strategy, if you like. And then are you seeing more budget come into it? Were you seeing more budget come in anyway? I mean, just ignore the language for a moment.
I think one observation I can make, you know, just from the recent discussion is connected TV or addressable TV there's a lot of expectations put on it from both sides, right? So from if you're buying, you know, with a linear TV mindset, then your question will be, there's just not enough here. There's not enough reach, you know, until we get to a tipping point. How can this be useful, you know, useful for my campaign? And then when you look at it from the digital point of view, then you get into the discussion around, this is not user level. There's not enough granularity, you know, it's not measurable in real time. And you know, it's kind of, it's got a lot of pressure on it, right, in between those two angles. I think, you know, our view on this is the trajectory is clear. It is going from, you know, kind of linear, traditional towards addressable. We know that through adoption of connected TV, the increase in adoption of connected TVs, I think it was 50-something% of all UK TVs were smart TVs last year. I'm sure, you know, the number is much bigger now. We know that trajectory is clear. How do we take advantage of that space in the middle now so that we can be ready for the future that is going to be, you know, almost 100% addressable? Because we know that's going to happen. It's a question of when. And I guess our point of view is, yes, it's not perfect in terms of, it's not, you know, it's not exactly user level, but there are ways around that with models and samples, like a mixed view of using survey-based methodology and you know, ID level data can help us to understand, you know, who's watching and why and when and what device and what time of day and all of that. And, you know, I think it's incumbent on us as we see this industry transitioning to experiment. I mean, yes, it doesn't have, you know, connected TV doesn't have, addressable TV doesn't have the reach of linear, but there's more than enough there to start testing, right? And we have the granularity to be, you know, across different audiences to begin to test. If you're a brand that is lucky enough to be able to still be on linear TV with, you know, kind of all of the pressures on marketing departments today, what we suggest is take a sliver of that budget and test on addressable channels and get that feedback that you need, so to prepare you for the future, as well as potentially get learnings that you can apply to linear today. So, and those are the kinds of prototypes and proof of concept and beta tests that we're doing with our clients today. So our clients, like digital first brands, for example, someone mentioned that. I actually have a stat. In 2019, 47 brands worked with ITV, 47 digital native brands worked with ITV, and a lot of those were attracted by the addressability component, but then also, you know, went on to use linear for the scale to kind of boost their growth to the next level, let's say. So there's plenty there to play with, and we would suggest that, you know, that brands who can play now and get the learnings now.
Okay, and you mentioned that the linear teams, connected TV, may not have the reach that they want, but presumably incremental reach would be a valuable addition for them, Lara?
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, obviously that is a big proportion of the, it's a big selling point for our addressable proposition. But we're trying to understand measurement beyond reach. So I've come from, kind of many different media owners across different channels. And I remember when I first joined ITV a year ago, when people were talking about measurement, I understood that they were only talking about reach, and that was a huge shock for me. So what about everything else in measurement? Like, how do we start to think about, measuring creative performance, measuring, brand responsiveness, measuring, how consumers are reacting, etc. And I think there's a lot we can do there. The addressable nature of connected TV doesn't just mean targeting, doesn't just mean, a measurement. It also means insight. We have the data to have insight that can support and inform that entire media buying process. So yes, reach is important, but so is all of these other elements that go into a media plan and to make that media plan work.
Okay, well, let's have the two buyers then just tell us about how they're using connected TV to optimize reach or performance. And Dan, you go first, and then John next, and just sort of talk us through, how you think your clients want to use connected TV.
Well, as Lara said, it's about testing and learning. I think that where the data is evolving and the metrics are not consistent between the two, we are working with our clients in terms of using it from a testing point of view. And actually, how can we test it effectively? So with our timing of our campaign, making sure we've got not just from an incremental reach point of view, the connected TV aspects running at the same time as linear TV. It's about placing it within a campaign so we can see the direct effectiveness of the connected piece versus linear. And I think the more clients that do that, as Lara said, that test and learn, and the more as media agencies and owners, we share that learning, the faster the connected TV piece will, I think, accelerate and grow. So for us, it's very much, we're working with clients from an experimental point of view, as opposed to saying, this is the way forward and you should put all your eggs into it now.
Okay, and John, how are you advising clients to use it?
As I mentioned, I think a lot of our brands still use it as part of the AV buy. There are those digital native clients that come in and see the opportunity to be on TV. From the clients that look at it as an AV buy, it is still used as a reach extension. And I think there are strong products already available in the addressable connected TV world, especially from the broadcasters and from YouTube, that allow you to drive extension of reach across the online video and the AV landscape. I think in terms of measurement and in-flight optimizations of today, I don't think that connected TV is there just yet. And to Dan's point, there is a need to test and learn and see what's capable, what's possible out there. What I do think we get back from our connected TV insights, and we do a lot of work with Samsung TVs in particular, is we get an understanding of what the audiences are watching, where they're watching it, to help infer and help us understand where we should be planning going forward. So we know from ITV Hub, a lot of the audiences are watching the majority of the audience is watching stuff on connected TV. Does that mean for that particular audience, do we need to look at the AV budget and think it doesn't necessarily need to go all in linear TV? It can be split across linear, CTV, online video. Those insights that you get back from connected TV, that you get back from an ACR technology, that you get back from the digital insights that it gives back to you, helps us. And I think what we're trying to do as well is work towards building better data panels to help optimize our TV and video buys going forward. So we work closely with Sky, we work closely with Samsung, but we need to understand where the audiences are and what they're doing. And I think a big part of where we're moving into is being more business focused with our clients. So we do think a lot about incremental reach, but we want to move into what is the business goal that we're delivering across the right media. And the more data that we can get into that from the clients, from the suppliers, from the partners all around, will help us drive what we think will be a long-term success for us and brands to work together. And right now, I think it is an extension of TV. I think going forward, it will help deliver business goals.
Okay. And Guido, just to wrap us up, I mean, obviously it's been an extraordinary period and you're very much in the measurement business. I mean, do you think that the new normal has now become predictable?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think it's become predictable. I mean, some aspects will be predictable, but when everybody goes back to work, let's say we all have the vaccine and we're all going back to work, is the current new normal then the normal, or is the old normal then the new normal? It's hard to predict. I mean, what we see across the globe is there's some very interesting things that are happening. In APAC, we've seen enormous growth of people reading books, as an example. Is that the new normal going forward, or are they moving into premium video after COVID? So it's hard to tell. What I think what we will see is that a lot of the business that used to be, let's say, in brick and mortar is moving into digital at an accelerated speed. We've seen that at supermarkets, as an example. There are less people in the supermarket, but the sales is not really going down. So a lot of them are buying the meals and let them deliver to the home. So if I would do a prediction, it will be more, let's say, digital focused, but yeah. Who knows? Who knows? It's we can measure what happens. We cannot predict what is not measured.
Okay, and presumably you would predict that connected TV will play a significantly bigger part of media planning in future.
Yeah, it will. I mean, we're seeing that in the US already, that addressable is gaining a lot of traction, and in Europe, as my fellow panelists said. It's early days, it's used for testing, but the trajectory is clear. Things are moving into connected TV.
All right. Well, I mean, it's a fascinating subject, and we'll come back to this again and again, I expect. So thank you very much for all of you joining us today and for your insights. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.